I like to think that a lot of my demographic are hardcore meathead, geared up bodybuilders, right, who need at least 4,000 calories. Don't fall for any of this woke shit. We're trying to get massive. A good rule of thumb, right, if it's got protein on the front of it, probably just fucking sack it off, right? Like me, extra virgin, because cucumbers don't count. Hello and welcome back to YouTube. Today I'm going to show you how to bulk on a budget, okay? We're at Aldi, which probably is the cheapest grocery store in the UK, I think. Going to take you around Aldi now, show you the best budget options for bulking, for bodybuilding, with actually like decent nutrition, not just eating shit. So for students it's perfect, for anybody really trying to bodybuild because it's an expensive sport. Credentials, I've done this for like 6 years. I wasn't always a mediocre IFBB pro. I was once a 17-year-old student working night shifts at Asda to fund my bodybuilding, so I used to cut corners for cost. After we've gone around the supermarket, I'm going to go home and I'm going to lay out a full meal plan, break down the costs for it and show you how to eat a pretty well-balanced nutritional diet, over 4,000 calories for relatively cheap. So let's get into it. Right, we'll start with carbs. Obviously, number one, most meathead bodybuilding food is just rice, okay? This is the sort of thing, if you just buy it in bulk, it's going to be significantly cheaper. Which, by the way, buy your rice in bulk, okay? Go to a Costco, wholesalers. The whole theme for this really is buy in bulk, and it is significantly cheaper. So you can get a 20 kilo bag of rice and it will work out to, literally works out to about 15p per 100 grams. This whole video I'm gonna try and break it down in cost per 100 grams to keep it simple. Right, other point about rice, okay? We've actually managed to locate some rice. You can get a kilogram of uncooked rice or a quarter of that in cooked weight rice, so even probably half that again, so an eighth, if probably a tenth realistically, for the same price. So don't buy this, don't be fucking lazy. Save significant amounts of money and just cook your rice fresh. Get a rice cooker. You can get a rice cooker for about 30 quid, okay? And then you can pretty much just put it in at the start of the day and you've got rice for that whole day. But just don't buy that one. Buy a fucking like 20 kilo sack of the shit and you'll save significant amounts more money. Next up, great carb source, right? Potatoes. If you're dieting, potatoes are gonna be a better carb source than rice. When you are bulking, I'd probably go for rice. It's going to be a little bit easier to get down, okay? Because potatoes are a lot more voluminous. However, cut up your potatoes, stick them in the air fryer, and it'll, you know, get pretty close to fries if you make it nicely. So, potatoes, fantastic option for the bulk. Other carb source, my favourite carb source for the bulk, and in prep, to be fair, my typical go-to pre-workout and post-workout is rice pudding from ESN, okay? Best bit, when this video goes live, there's 20% off everything at ESN with code EAGLES. So, again, with the theme of the video, buy in bulk. Whilst it's cheap, whilst it's 20% off, go and buy, you know, a few bags and stuff. Get 6-9 kilos of rice pudding because you know you're going to need it, and it's cheaper right now. Rice pudding works out to less than 75p per 100 grams right now. Whereas when you go for like a cream of rice, let's say trained by JP, that's going to be more closer to £1 per 100 grams because it's got all these sweeteners, flavours in there. Whereas rice pudding is just a straight 100% rice semolina, pre-digested already, so it digests fantastically. Really good option. My favourite pre-workout because it's going to digest quickly. Alternatively, an even cheaper option is just white rice, as we said already. So rice pudding, rice, fantastic options, and all really fucking cheap, so you can't complain. Right then, next up, ye old faithful that you've seen me carb up with many times, Rice Krispies, okay? Typically, if I was going to put these in a meal plan, it would be post-workout, but you know, if you've got to eat an early meal before you go to work or something like that, a rice-based cereal or a corn-based cereal is a fantastic option. 79p for 375 grams, right? Not bad at all. I would go for like your Aldi own brand rather than actual Kellogg's Rice Krispies because it is going to be significantly cheaper and it is still just puffed white rice, okay? So those, cornflakes, Frosties, they're all great. Ones to avoid, okay, they're going to be like your Crave and your B-Tech Crave, your knockoff Crave, because you can't get the real thing. One, because it's fucking way more expensive, and two, because it's full of fat, loads of additives, and it's a bit shit. Whereas just a high glycemic, rice-based cereal, post-workout, it's cheap, it's quick and easy to eat. Mix it with some whey protein instead of milk because you don't really want too much dairy, if any at all, and that's going to be a really cheap post-workout. It's going to digest quickly and replenish that glycogen you've just lost from training. It doesn't get much more basic than you just plain porridge oats for another carb source. 89p for a kilogram here, so I don't think you're going to find cheaper. Bit of fruit on it. Obviously, have your porridge with water, okay? You're a bodybuilder, you don't need milk. Just can't go wrong. I'm not going to sit here and explain oats. Slightly higher in fibre, good source of fibre. Bit more sort of trace protein in there compared to your cereals, but another alternative, especially if you're at that later stage of a diet. I know this is a bulking, but even for just bodybuilding in general, later stage of a diet, you can volumise that with a lot more water, so it's going to be a lot more filling for lower calories. And then the final one, not overly cheap, but it's very carb dense, right? If your food's really high and you're struggling to eat, just grab some honey. This one is 99p. It's 21p per 100 grams, okay? So it is actually quite cheap. Get the own brand stuff. You can be fancy and get the Rouse honey, but there's not really much difference. I tried to use this sparingly. Again, if I was gonna put it in a meal plan, it would be on like a post-workout meal. If you're gonna do some rice-based cereal, little 20 grams of this on top, goes down a treat. Rice pudding, oats as well. Fantastic addition just to bring those overall carbs up. There have been times in my off-season and for clients as well, where there's been a chicken and rice meal. Rice is already at 140 grams dry weight. I then tend to put in maybe 15, 20 grams of honey just on top of that. One, because it sort of wets the meal a bit, makes it go down a little bit easier when they are really struggling to eat. It's also just a really easy way to get some carb-dense carbs in without having to just eat another pile of rice. So great tool, use it sparingly and only when needed when food's really high. For the majority of you, if you're below 4,000 calories, I wouldn't be putting this in every meal. I'd probably only be looking to use it pre or post workout personally, but a great option. Right then, final, I'll say cheaper carb would be, we want some fruit and veg in there. Fruits especially, pretty decent source of carbs that can be relatively cheap depending on the fruit you go for. So banana's probably going to be your cheapest form of fruit for the highest quantity of carbs. Again, I use these pre-post workout a lot. It's got your potassium in there as well, so for post-workout it's great. About 20 grams carbs per 100 grams of banana, roughly speaking. These are, the organic ones are more expensive, but if you don't care about being organic or fair trade or any of that bollocks, don't fall for any of this woke shit, right? We're trying to get massive. 88p for a 7 pack of bananas, not 6, but 7. Don't know why 7, that's very precise. What the fuck is going on here? I don't normally shop at Aldi. I do actually need some pineapple because we are trying to do a food shop here as well. But in Aldi, they've cut off all the tops, which actually, if you think about it logically, makes transportation cheaper for Aldi. So, but pineapple, right? Another cheap carb source. This has 2 benefits, right? It's going to help you digest protein because there is a enzyme in here that helps break down protein. So I use this with all my chicken and rice meals and beef meals. Tip for this, don't buy tinned pineapple. Yes, it's easier because you have to cut it up, but if you're on a budget, right, it's 98p for a whole fucking pineapple. This is probably close to 400 or 500 grams. Whereas if you go for a tin, you're gonna get like 120 grams or something for like double the price of that. So buy your pineapple fresh and just cut it up. It's really easy to cut up, so don't be lazy. But yeah, that's kind of it for the fruit, so I'll just stick to banana personally. Frozen fruit, if you're gonna get that, it is a good option. I buy mine in bulk from Costco because it is significantly cheaper. You can get a 1 kilo tub of frozen raspberries for I think about 10 quid, which is 8 quid, which is extortionately expensive, but fruit in general is just more expensive, whereas if you stick to your bananas rather than your berries, it's going to be cheaper. So if you're on a really tight budget, stick to banana. But if you're like me and you like frozen fruit, grab it from Costco, buy it in bulk, and it does work out slightly cheaper. We'll transition away from carbs now, we'll go into some veg. For me personally, I'm going to grab some cucumber. We all know you buy one to eat and you buy another one to sit on. But if we're actually going for like budget-friendly options here, your better choice is going to be a frozen veg. So we'll go over and have a look at some of the mixed frozen vegetables. It's also, if you are actually wanting proper vegetables, it's a lot easier to eat, to cook even. Right, whilst we're here actually touching on the fruit, where are the frozen raspberries? There you go. In Aldi you can get raspberries, 350 grams. It's just £5.40 per kilo. So it's actually way cheaper than Costco. So I should probably come here to buy my raspberries. £5 a kilo, that's not actually that bad. Adds up if you're gonna do like 100 grams per meal like I do, but you can have a little bit, still get the enjoyment from it. Right, what I'd be going for personally would be some either probably green beans would be my choice. You can get a kilo for £1.20, okay? These are, if you want like high carb options, just go for standard frozen peas. They are gonna be probably slightly more expensive, however, they're a little bit more carb dense because it's just the inside of the pea. So frozen veg, always gonna be cheaper than fresh veg. And for you students who are lazy, it's easier to cook, in my opinion. Now, moving on to what is gonna set you back the most is gonna be your protein sources, right? Normally, it's gonna be obviously your most expensive, your biggest expense, but here we are, the fresh British meat. Again, as I've said many times now, you wanna buy in bulk, so this is ideal. 2 kilos of chicken breast is gonna be about 12 quid, which, so £6 a kilo, it's not awful, okay? Pretty reasonable price for chicken, but again, like you could probably find cheaper if you go and befriend your local butcher. This is something I used to do when I lived back with my parents. There was a butcher around the corner, and We became best mates with him because I was buying 5 kilos of chicken at a time. And so he'd knock like a £5 off it. So I think it was normally meant to be like 32 quid back then. This was a few years ago now, so inflation, cost of living crisis and all that. But back then I think it was meant to be 32. He used to sell it to us for 27 because we'd go in there every week and buy it. So if you can build a relationship like that with a butcher, go and try it. It's worth a shot. Just go in one time and ask, like, look mate, if I'm going to come in every week and buy 5 kilos of chicken, can you do it a little bit cheaper? You know, they may not knock a £5 off, but you may get a couple quid off and it may work out cheaper than just buying 2 kilos from a supermarket. The other option is if chicken breast is just, well, not even that it's too expensive, so you are going to need chicken breast at some point, but if you are deep in the off season, your fats are way fucking higher, then you can just go for some chicken thigh, right? This is £5 per kilo, so it's slightly cheaper. It's going to get a lot of healthy fats in there as well, but for me personally, I like to keep my fats a little bit lower, and I actually do some added fats from olive oil and stuff, which I'll get into, but yeah, chicken thigh or chicken breast, depending on how high your fats are. If you can get away with chicken thighs, you are going to save a little bit of money. Your leaner cuts, your sort of 5%, it's going to be more expensive. I'm not exactly sure on the price per kilo, but I get 10% fat at the minute because my fats are higher. So Kyle, my coach, has me having 10%, so 90-10 beef. This is £7.30 per kilo, whereas the 5% is £8.40 per kilo, okay? So for 5% difference, you're going to save a decent bit of money because that is going to add up over the months. Em's currently in prep, so she needs the 5%. Myself, getting into the off season now, I'm going for the 10%. Saves me about a quid, and again, it's going to be healthy fat, so typically with my beef meal I am adding quite a lot of olive oil to them. Getting that just allows me not to have to add the olive oil, get the fats from there, and I can save a bit of money during the shopping process. Now, my other protein source that I typically use and use for a lot of my clients is going to be whey protein. As I've already said, buy it in bulk and buy it when it's on sale. So the thing to watch out for with ESN specifically, obviously that's the quality protein and the protein I believe in. I would be careful where you buy your protein from because the source does matter. Buy it from a reputable brand. ESN is your safe bet there. As I've said, look out for the sales, okay? They have a sale every single Wednesday. Whey protein is the sort of thing you can keep in your cupboard for months, it's not gonna go off. So times like Black Friday, shit like that, just buy like fucking 10 kilos of whey if you can, because you know you're gonna use it throughout the rest of the year and you're gonna save, you know, you could easily save 50 quid if you did that. Right now, as I said, 20% off, so now would be your time to do that. Go and buy, you know, a few 2 kilo bags of protein, save some money. If you do use whey protein, it is gonna be a slightly more expensive food source, but it gives you that versatility then that you can have it with your rice puddings, you can do whey drips, all of that sort of stuff. So yeah, whey protein, chicken thighs are gonna be a cheaper alternative to chicken breast, and then buy slightly fattier cuts of beef mince if you can get away with it, if your fats are higher. Right, thing to avoid for protein, if you are trying to be budget friendly, a good rule of thumb, right? If it's got protein on the front of it, probably just fucking sack it off, right? It's probably a marketing gimmick. Aldi's probably one of the worst for this, and I see a lot of students fall into this trap. They'll see this, think 14 grams of protein per pot, wow, but it's 75p for 14 grams of protein, which is fucking diabolical. It may have just about all 9 essential amino acids, but it's also got a million other ingredients. I mean, the first ingredient on here is buttermilk, so then the next one's milk. So yeah, lots of dairy, would definitely avoid it. These little fuckers as well. Right, your little protein on the go, you know, you're not 5, right, grow up, you don't need this shit. If you want something quick and easy to get your protein in, whey protein. It's gonna be a little bit cheaper, and it is the most bioavailable source of protein. If you are like myself, I'm someone who does enjoy some fish. I would not say fish is very budget friendly for the majority. Right, there's one option that is kind of budget friendly, and that's gonna be your tin tuna down here. What you want though is the one in spring water. From a bodybuilding perspective, not really in brine or oil personally. I would always go for the spring water option. This is going to be £6.10 per kilo drained, so it's about the same price as your chicken breast for literally the same macros. So if you are going to go for fish, that's a pretty easy option. I also like to do a white fish, but that is very expensive. The way I save some money on that is I go to Costco and I buy my tilapia in bulk, because that's the only really affordable way to do it. Otherwise, if you're buying like cod and you're buying that like fresh all the time, it's going to set you back. So if you are wanting to do some fish, tins of tuna will be the one. I would be careful about having that daily though, because of mercury poisoning. If you are going to use tuna, be careful. Personally, maybe you're going to use that like 2-3 days a week. The rest of the time, try to get your protein from, you know, a chicken, a beef mince, or, you know, something like that. The other one option, obviously, eggs. Right? It's very self-explanatory. Eggs are, I'd say they're a fat source as well as a protein source. Obviously, the egg white is the protein source, the yolk is the fat source. But you can buy eggs in bulk, again, and save quite a lot of money there if you do buy them in bulk. Or, mega saving like here, just buy a fucking chicken. and then every single day you're going to get like an egg. So if you really want to save some money, just go and buy chicken. Best bit about that is after you've had the chicken for a period of time and it's, you know, got on a little bit, smack its head and there you go, you've got your chicken breast for the next week as well. So it's a win-win. So, you know, my real advice here is buy a couple of chickens. If you can't do that because your parents won't let you, or, you know, your partner won't let you, like mine, then just buy your eggs in bulk and save some money there. So eggs, great option. I personally don't do it in the off season because I find it's quite a voluminous way to get food in. I prefer a whey protein in the morning. But eggs, they're also a great fat source. Now, leading into fat sources, whilst we're here, actually before we do that, we're at like a sauce and seasoning. So on the whole topic of seasoning and condiments and stuff like that, I'm just going to say probably buy it from Amazon or Costco or wholesale. Like, I've got a massive thing of cinnamon that's, I think it's like, I don't know, 500 grams of cinnamon or some shit, because I use cinnamon every single day. So buying the little ones from the supermarket, I go through those like once a week, so it doesn't make much sense. They're quite expensive. If I just buy a massive fucking tub of cinnamon, I'm buying, it's a lot cheaper, and it's going to last me because it's not going to go out of date. So for your seasonings and all that, that's non-perishable, buy the biggest quantity you can before at the time. Obviously that's dictated, but go on Amazon, buy it from there. Ketchups and stuff like that, just cheap way to save it is just buy own brand Aldi, don't buy Heinz. I'm stuck up and I'm a pro bodybuilder, so I justify buying Heinz because I prefer it. And I also get the 0 added salt and sugar one. If you're deep in the off season and you're worried about fucking doing this on a budget, don't worry about any of that. Just buy the fucking cheapest, bog standard ketchup, whatever's gonna help you get your food down. The macros and additives, I wouldn't worry about, all right? That's just being overly anal when you don't need to be, when you've got bigger priorities. So just get whatever's gonna help you get the food down, that your coach allows you to have that's on plan. Right, everybody's favorite fat source that I can't have. Where's the cheap one? A big old tub of peanut butter. Great fat source, really fucking nice. Yeah, okay, I would, if you were my client, I'd say try and buy like a pure 100% almond butter, or, you know, more organic peanut butter, rather than one of the shit ones that's just full of crap. But if you're on a budget, just get the one that's full of crap, okay? It's still gonna do the same job. Try to get one that's got no palm oil in. Palm oil is the big no-no. So, I mean, this one's actually quite good. It's a natural source of protein, no added sugar or salt, and it's 100% peanuts. So grab this one from Aldi, $3.99 for a kilo. You can definitely get it cheaper than that, but considering that's actually quite a good one, I'd probably try to stretch the budget and get that. For a kilo, you're gonna get a shitload of fats there, but olive oil, the most cost-effective way to get your fats in, and it can make your food taste quite nice. So get some extra virgin olive oil, like me, extra virgin, because cucumbers don't count. Oh yeah, on the seasoning topic as well, salt, just buy that from fucking Amazon or Costco. You can get a massive tub that's like a kilo for like a couple of quid in Costco, so do that. Try to get a pink salt, in my opinion, is better because it's got all the minerals in there. Then when you're getting a table salt, you can still get a table salt, that's fine, but it has been bleached, so it's just the sodium. Whereas from a bodybuilding standpoint, you probably will benefit more from a sea salt or a Himalayan salt. Again, that's being really picky. If budget is that much of an option, don't worry about it. Right, that's going to conclude all my useful advice. When all of that I've just suggested goes wrong, ignore all of that. Just come buy this £4 pizza and eat one of these a day, and you will gain weight. Not good weight, you won't be a good bodybuilder, but you will bulk. So, pizza for the turbo bulk. All right, catch you back at home and I'll talk you through an entire meal plan with some meal options that are somewhat budget friendly and will actually turn you into a very good bodybuilder. Right then, we are back from Aldi. Now, I'm gonna sit here, I'm gonna try to keep this relatively brief. Talk through an example meal plan. It's pretty much laid out like my current meal plan, okay? So there is a lot of personal preference here. Try to not just copy this meal plan, right? Because I guarantee whoever you are watching this, this is probably not the right meal plan for you. It's 550 grams of carbs, 85 grams of fat, and 285 grams of protein. So 4,100 calories total, and it works out to just under £9.50 a day. Now, I have not tried to do this as cheaply as possible, right? Fantastic title for me, you know, bulking on a budget, and I've not done it as cheaply as possible. You could very easily get this down to £5 a day, you know. There are bulking diets out there that are like £3.50 a day, but they're only like 3,000 calories, okay? For a lot of my demographic, that's probably not going to be enough of a surplus for you. I like to think that a lot of my demographic are hardcore meathead, geared up bodybuilders, right, who need at least 4,000 calories. So this is, you know, slightly higher protein and therefore slightly more expensive. Now, I think for a lot of people, it will genuinely do the job, but you could probably cut a few corners here, reduce the protein, potentially increase the carbs to make up that calorie difference. So still be around 4,100 calories, but maybe have 240, 250 grams of protein, and then higher carbs to account for the protein you've just lost. And that would bring the price down quite significantly. I've also done 2 meals with whey protein in. Again, if you change those for a slightly cheaper protein source, could make it even cheaper. If you change one of those to tuna, for example, even cheaper. So that's the general overview. Again, the general themes I want you to take from this video, if you do want to make your bodybuilding more affordable, is just buy in fucking bulk. We are creatures of habit. We eat the same food every single day for years on fucking end. If you want to be successful in bodybuilding, generally that's probably what you're going to do. It makes life easier because you can just bulk meal prep as well. So if you have, like here, I've got 2 chicken and rice meals that are the same every day. That's what I eat in my day-to-day meal plan anyway. Reason being is it means I can just bulk prep chicken, which saves time and saves money, and I can just stick my rice in the rice cooker at the start of the day for those 2 meals. Again, it saves time because time is money. No, it's just easier, right? Bodybuilders, again, we are pretty lazy, so especially in the off season, I don't want to spend my entire day cooking. If I can meal prep meals that I just have to go to the fridge, stick it in the microwave for 2 minutes, then I can eat. Fantastic. It's my fucking dream scenario, especially when I'm busy with client work and stuff like that. So yeah, that's the general theme. So meal 1, I've written as a pre-workout meal here. It's going to be about just over £2.50 for this meal. 850 calories, 130 grams of carbs, 10 grams of fat, and 60 grams of protein. So quite a high carb meal to start with because it is a pre-workout meal. Again, a decent amount of protein in there. Most people probably don't need 60 grams of protein per meal, but again, set this up as if it was myself. I've done 100 grams of rice pudding. Now, this is probably a more expensive carb, but if I were to use a more expensive carb, you could very easily make this cheaper by using rice. Even oats, okay, oats would be a good alternative here that would be significantly cheaper than this. But I've gone for rice pudding because that's generally what I would actually use, especially because it's going to be so fast digesting. That's the advantage of rice pudding over at oats here, is it's going to be quicker digesting, which is ideal in that pre-workout environment where we want that food to digest and be uptaken quickly. One, to utilize in the workout, and also so that we're not training on a full bloated stomach, because that's not a nice feeling. And then you'll probably throw up everywhere. And then it's irrelevant what calories you're eating because you've thrown it up. So again, yeah, 100 grams of rice pudding, 60 grams of whey. I've then gone for 100 grams of banana as the fruit choice here because it is, a cheap fruit. Also gets you 20 grams of carbs. I've then gone for the 20 grams of honey. Again, like I said earlier in Audi, it's a very easy way to bump those carbs up without actually adding in a high volume of food. So when bulking, that's ideal because we kind of want to keep food volume a little bit lower because that's going to allow us to eat more and get the calories in. Then I've put 15 grams of peanut butter in here for a little bit of fats. Typically, if this was my actual meal plan, I would do 90% dark chocolate there because I can't eat peanut butter, obviously. So I can't do nuts because I'm allergic to nuts. So I'll do dark chocolate. Dark chocolate is fucking well expensive, okay? If you are trying to bulk on a budget, do not have any dark chocolate. Just maybe put in some, you could even do olive oil or coconut oil, probably be a better option there. But yeah, that's what I typically do for pre-workout. Post-workout then, 850 calories, 170 grams of carbs here, 5 grams of fat, and another 60 grams of protein. Here, typically, I'd maybe do a rice-based cereal, okay? If food's quite high, 150 grams of Rice Krispies, only 30p. Fantastic. Another 60 grams of whey protein, 100 grams of banana again, and 20 grams of honey. Shitloads of carbs, really fucking cheap. You're only looking at just over £2 for that entire meal. Can't really go wrong. Now, the next 2 meals, absolute bodybuilding staple. £1.37 per meal here. They're both the same, they're chicken and rice. So it's 775 calories, 85 grams of carbs, 21 grams of fat, and 56 grams of protein. Here, because it's my preference, I've gone for a chicken breast. So that's £1.20 for 200 grams there. So a little bit more expensive than if you went for like a chicken thigh. 100 grams of dry weight rice, which is 15p, and then 15 grams of olive oil. So I've gone for a chicken breast and then I've added some added fats in there rather than going for the chicken thigh because it allows me to just keep my fats a little bit lower. And, again, you get 15 grams of olive oil, 1p, right? Fucking literal, it's a penny. It's dirt cheap. And then I've gone for 75 grams of frozen peas, which again works out to be a penny for that serving size. So can't really go wrong. I would typically do 2 of those meals in a day because it's a very easy way to get a very nutrient-dense meal in that's fantastic. And for both of those together, you're looking at, just over £2.60, which is the same price as the pre-workout meal. So that's like a very clear example. Like you could very easily just eat that chicken rice meal again for your pre-workout and maybe just reduce the olive oil because it's pre-workout, so then it digests slightly quicker. And again, then you're going to be looking at the meal is going to be £1.36 rather than £2.60 for that pre-workout meal. You're still going to get your protein, you're still going to get your good high glycemic carbs in that's going to digest nice and quickly. and it's really, really cheap. And again, straight away, then we've taken £1 off that £9 total for the meal plan. But because I want this to be realistic and actually something people will enjoy eating as well, because a lot of the theme when bulking, right, is if you make your meals more enjoyable, you're going to find it easier to eat them. You're going to get your food down easier. So a little bit of variety in there goes a long way. So if you can stretch it for that extra £1 a day to get that rice pudding meal in, rather than a third chicken and rice meal, in my opinion, that's worth it because it's going to be easier to eat more food, which in the long run is going to help you bulk for a longer period of time, more productively. And it is worth that £1. It's justifiable to me personally. Final meal then, we've gone for a red meat, some potatoes, so £1.90 for this meal. 720 calories, 70 grams of carbs, 25 grams of fat, and 55 grams of protein. So here I've gone for a 200 gram, 10% beef mince, which comes in at £1.47. So again, you see protein sources that really are the kicker here. 200 grams of mixed veg, like the ones I picked up earlier in Aldi, for 19p there. And then 400 grams of white potato, 27p. Dirt fucking cheap. That whole meal plan, I would very much enjoy eating that. It's pretty much minus the fucking peanut butter. That is pretty much more or less what I eat on a day-to-day basis. Anyway, that's kind of been my meal layout for the last 4 years of doing this. Now I work with tons of clients who don't eat like that because they don't like that. It's, you know, flavour, food choice, personal preference for the majority. But ultimately, again, we are trying to bodybuild. There are limited food sources. There are only so many protein sources you can get that are quality. Same for carb sources, stuff like that. So that general rule of thumb, like whether you copy those meals exactly, whether you adjust the quantities to fit your macros, or whether you just take little bits from that, like the banana being a good fruit option, the olive oil being a good cheap fat source, you know, stuff like that. Use that as a template and just extract what you need to then create your preferred meal plan that is still cost effective. All of those prices are done based off Aldi / Costco / where, you know, I would shop if I was trying to do this on a budget. I'm sure there are other great food sources that I have missed. This is, again, a very biased opinion of how I would bulk on a budget and how I have bulked on a budget previously and what I recommend for clients. If you've got any food sources out there that you use that you think are fantastic and I've missed, just drop them in the comments because other people will read that and they may take something from that. I may take something from that. So if you do have any ideas yourself, please do drop them below. On the topic of Costco, one of the videos coming up, I'm going to go do my off-season grocery haul in Costco. So like and subscribe so you don't miss that video coming up. Because again, I will talk through some of the cost-saving methods I do there with the fish and the frozen fruit and show you those options. But that's going to wrap this video up there. I wanted to keep it fairly brief, just packing as much fucking useful information as I could. If this is the first video on my channel you are watching, like and subscribe. None of the other content here is as informative or useful or educational. It's a load of fucking waffle and shit, but some people like it. That is that. Thanks for watching, everyone. Normal videos will resume from next week, so I will see you then.